here is another one with me. Well, this is a collection of short stories written by a medical doctor, a Nigerian medical doctor, has put this brilliant work together. It's titled Before Your Next Sex. Now, somewhere in here, he wrote that sex is that food that everybody eats, but you won't find on the menu because nobody wants to put it out there on the menu. He was trying to describe the way the subject of sex is taken in the Nigerian culture. Nobody wants to talk about sex openly, but sex is something that everybody talks about, if you get what I mean. Now, so this book, titled Before Your Next Sex, a collection of short stories, is a book written by, like I said, young Nigerian author Uche Anyanwagu, and he came into our studios to read from this book not too long ago. Now, let's get to meet with Uche and then enjoy the reading from his collection of short stories.
My name is Uche Anyanwagu. I'm going to read some chapters from my book titled Before Your Next Sex. On that cloudy Thursday evening, I was the only doctor on call at the Accident and Emergency Department of the hospital. It was during the twilight days of my national service as a corps member in a very busy district hospital in Abuja. The lobby of the General Outpatient Department was overflowing with patients, most of whom, from their helpless frowns and endless fidgeting along the hallway, you could tell had been waiting the whole day to see a doctor. That explained why some patients preferred to go to the A&E, which was my side of things. Not that they had conditions which required emergency attention, but because over there, we didn't have a long line spilling all the way out to the front door. It was not unusual to find a mix of anticipatory patients with real or imagined illnesses circling round the A&E between 4 p.m. and midnight seeking medical attention. Such parade could only overburden a lone doctor on duty whose task was to attend the actual emergencies. Earlier, I had consulted in the GOPD clinic till 1 p.m. before I was released to take a rest in anticipation of a busy night ahead in the A&E. Spread out on one of the 4 beds in the doctor's call room with my face buried into the pillow, half asleep, I was jolted out of my nap by an unusual noise. The noise came from high-pitched voices and was nothing like the typical wails from passers-by rushing in victims of fire or road traffic accidents into the ward. Rather, it was a combination of excitement and anger in loud shouts and vibrations. I immediately sat up on the bed and remained that way for a few minutes, trying to figure out what the commotion was about. Chapter 2, A Raging Battle. My patient Judith and her husband had invited me to the dedication service of their baby, Nathan, whom I had delivered 12 weeks earlier. It was testimony time at the popular Pentecostal church sited in a beautiful town in the southern part of eastern Nigeria. That Sunday, I had donned my starched white native attire, which complemented my brown brogos, polished to shine, and my ceremonial glasses. As I approached the entrance of the church, a beautiful, light-skinned young lady walked up to me. She wore a welcoming smile, which flashed her near-perfect dentition. She was an usher and must have perceived me to be an important personality, considering my appearance. With the assurance of a hostess showing her party guests where to sit, she took me by my elbow and led me to the hallowed front pew, usually reserved for the privileged minority. The day was going quite well, or so I thought, as I eagerly settled in for the service and was not too disappointed when it commenced. That is, until the junior pastor took the stage. I crossed and uncrossed my legs as he scrambled from one end of the pulpit to the other, all the while demonizing virtually all I have lived for as a medical doctor since the past 6 months. The longer I sat, the more I marveled at my endurance to even sit and listen. My stomach churned in disgust. I must have put up a poor show of art trying to hide my irritation because my invitees could sense it, at least, judging from the expression on Judith's face when our eyes met. I gave her a tight-lipped smile and looked away. To escape the torturous task of having to listen to the enthusiastic pastor yell, I allowed my thoughts to roam. It wandered back to the day of baby Nathan's delivery, when I had my first encounter with labor-induced psychosis. That day, Judith, unable to endure the pangs of labor, briefly went psychotic as her labor progressed. She literally set the labor room on fire. She was at war with the beds, cupboards, and curtains, almost ripping to shreds everything and everyone on her path and beyond. So this book, Before Your Next Sex, is a collection of 30 short stories about my encounter while working in several clinics in Nigeria. So I just read part of chapter 2. So we have other 28 short stories there too, detailing similar episodes, and they all hover around sexuality and the interaction as well between culture, religion, spirituality, and unfounded medical myths. Now, the title seems to be a bit strange, Before Your Next Sex, but you'll discover in chapter 14 of the book that this title was drawn from a very moving story of a little child who went on to procure abortion, which is illegal in Nigeria, and developed complications. So the doctor that saw this child was so much touched that he felt that this child could have been any of his children. And because he wasn't coming home to meet his children that day, he decided to write a letter to the child to say, "Before your next sex, my child." And if you read that particular story, it's quite touchy, and you'll be able to see the important things that everyone, our teenagers, even the older ones, should learn about themselves, about their biology, about sexual and reproductive health rights before embarking or encountering their next sex. The sequel, chapter 15, Before That Next Sex, actually also details other important things that we should factor in, like sex determination and the rest of them. So there are so many lovely short stories here with so much lessons in them that we expect people to read and be informed. So my name is Uche Anyanwagu. I'm a medical doctor by training. I'm an epidemiologist by qualification. And I just love to tell stories.
Now, here's a photo I will treasure for life. You know, this work gets me to meet a lot of great, legendary authors and individuals. So I'm grateful for that. So this is the great General Alexander Madiebo, and who just turned 90 recently. Now, this man, he doesn't need too much introduction. You know him. He wrote the famous book, The Nigerian Revolution and the Biafran War, The Aftermath. Now, this is an update on the previously written book with similar title, The Nigerian Revolution and the Biafran War. Now, this book is a book you absolutely have to read. We were with him, and we had such a good time with him. But we are going to be watching him very soon. He did talk about his book, and then his grandson read from the book. You'll love to watch that. More importantly, you want to get your hands on a copy of this book and read. We need to learn our history from different perspectives. When somebody tells a story of Nigeria from one perspective, read it, get another perspective, and then you can think about what your own personal conclusions will be. But it's a very important thing we need to do as a country. And thank God for people like Alexander Madiebo, who has written this book that is there for the ages. Well, this is where we have to draw curtains on the show today. My name is Olakunle Kasumo. We'll be very happy to get your feedback through any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. As you go into the week, don't forget one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.